Cause in unity we will build our nation.
That's a very pleasant welcome to another presentation of this program, Sports Talk on Intel Sports. My name is Ben. My teammate tonight is Trojan. We're going to have a fascinating conversation over the next 90 minutes or so. We have two of the tacticians of the game in our studio, a very experienced female coach. Did I say in our studio? But we'll come on air. A very experienced female coach, CAF instructor. I must also mention this, Salem Kadibi, current coach of the Liberia female national team, has accepted our invite to join us on Sports Talk. And also Liberia newly appointed male national team coach, Mario Marininka. So both of them will come on and we'll talk about the prospects, we'll talk about the national team, the development, the plans they've got, and the work they are doing here, having some 2 years contract each. So basically, that is the conversation for tonight. Jordan?
Good evening, Ben, and good evening to all of our viewers on the SATCON Channel 8. We want to say good evening to you. If you're also watching us via the internet on our Facebook field, we want to say good evening to you, or you're following us via our YouTube page. We also want to say good evening to you. Ben, it's a pleasure being here, especially for tonight's discussion. You know, the heartbeat of Liberians, you know, is the national team. And whoever heads the national team, of course, it is like you've got this load on your shoulder, and each and every Liberian, they get angry if the team is not winning. But once a game day comes, they go trooping there. I've heard a lot of them will say, I would never watch Lone Star game again. Man, I'm watching Lone Star game again. But the next game, they will be there. So Liberians love the Lone Star. And so whoever heads the Lone Star, be it the male or the female or the youth teams, of course, you got a tax on your hand. And so we are very fortunate tonight to have the coach of the senior national males team and also the coach of the senior national female teams. And so they're going to be here tonight, and we're going to be looking at all of what Ben said right here on this program. So it's a pleasure being here once more.
So Trojan, there is my teammates. We are here until at least 8:30. Sometimes we go a fraction, beyond 8:30. I can understand when the conversation gets so juicy, so we can say juicy, and then we even forget that it is 8:30, but we won't keep you here longer than 8:30 for tonight. So we'll hear from those two coaches. They will roll on their plans to us. What do they think, of the environment? I mean, leaving Ethiopia, leaving Romania to come in Africa, West Africa, in Liberia. I mean, first thing first, settling is really, an issue. So for me, I won't be too concerned as to whether they have settled in the weather, the food, the environment, and the traffic. I just spoke with an assistant of Salam Kabidi, and I learned that she's driving. Yeah, she drives herself around town. And you know what it takes to drive in our traffic, Trojan?
Dark roads, lack of, traffic regulations and all of that. So it's a difficult thing. Somebody told me that if you can drive in Liberia, you can drive any part of the world.
Wow.
Yeah. So, yeah.
So there you have it. They're going to come on. You start to come on. Chad and Sherman is watching. Neo Brand is also following us. Let's say thank you and wish more of you can come on for us to have this show together. Well, what's trending? The content need, obviously. We start on Saturday. Children, have you had this even to Grand Cape Man out?
Well, I think my interest in the county meet to a large extent has dissipated. you know, there's no Cape Mount, there's no Maryland County,
Wow.
you know, so sorrowfully, I'll be supporting Montserrado, my hustle county.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just got to support Montserrado, my hustle county. So,
Yeah.
so I still do have interest though because of Montserrado. Yeah.
So yeah, but Montserrado too. They've got games coming up. I mean, they never had it their own way. Okay, to begin with, when they played here in Monrovia, they were in the group with Bomi, with Bapolu,
Cape Mount.
Cape Mount. And then you're going to mention that. So yeah, I wish you. My grand bastard is there, but normally I'm not good at picking side when it comes to competition like that. I just like to see a fair competition.
I do have, you know, one or two issues, and I hope I'm one of those who is hoping that the eligibility clause, meaning who gets to play in the county meet, is revisited. Yeah, I think the county meet should be a competition where we'll go to see young, new talents. You know, and it will be exciting, very, very exciting. I think there should be an age limit to the county meet, and there should also be a restriction relative to the division of players that played in the county meet. I don't even want a first division, neither a second division player playing in the county meet. Third and below, and under 20 at that. All right, least to say national team players. No, I think the county meet should be used, although it's a political tournament. We all understand that. No matter how you turn it, there will always be this enthusiasm around the county meet. No matter who plays, it doesn't matter. If the youth are playing, the people will still go watch their county play. But what they will enjoy is a new breed of players, you know, bursting through the scene, through the national county sports meet. And then a couple of years later, we will look back and say, this player, that player came through national county sports meet during this period. Let's look at Emmanuel Sie, for example. All right. Emmanuel Sie came through the national county sports meet.
Yeah.
He's still a kid, but we all know Emmanuel Sie now. He came through the county sports meet. He became the most valuable player of the national county sports, top goal scorer of the national county sports meet. Today, he's in the first division, and he is the best player on the champion team. All right.
And you don't think that Emmanuel Sie should play in the county meet again?
I don't want Emmanuel Sie to go back to the county meet. There's nothing Emmanuel Sie has to prove again with the county meet. I think he's grown bigger.
But he's only 17.
He's only 17 in age, but his mentality is bigger than the county meet now. So let's bring, you know, the other young kids to the county meet and introduce them, and from there we can, you know, raise them. So this thing about national team players playing the county, first division players playing the county meet, second division players playing the county meet. When you go to watch the county meet, of course, you see the very players you see every day in the national leagues. All right. So I don't think that should be so. The county meet should be a special event of new, young, fresh, talented players that we've not seen before. Let that excitement come. I already know what Chauncey Freeman will offer. I already know what Jonathan Freeman will offer. Gibson, all of those guys. How you call the one from Pinsville FC?
Lawrence Kuhlman.
I already know what those guys will offer. But I want to go to the county meet and I want to see new, young, fresh, talented players. And I want to stay on my toes and say, wow, look at that kid. You know, yeah, wow. That's what we want to see. So I just hope you can't divulge the political nature of the county meet. You also will not take away the enthusiasm no matter who plays. So this thing about big players coming into the county meet, let's forget about that. I hope we can redirect or revisit the eligibility clause to the county meet so that we can start discovering new talents in our Liberian football?
Well, that's the thoughts of Trojan, my teammate tonight. Let's just go through the fixtures for you briefly in football. And then later on, the second half of the program, we'll look at the kickball version as well. Where on Saturday, in the early game, is River G versus Bonk. Next is Grand G versus Nima. That's a geographical derby game there. And then followed up by Bassett versus Montserrat on Sunday. And then the same Sunday, in the late kickoff, Bomi versus Lofa. That's how the fixture looks like in the football category. We will try to get the female category as well as we try to make connection. The first of two guests on this platform. I'm seeing live television picture of Mario Marinica, supposedly from his hotel room in Monrovia. So let's get Mario firstly, and then before we can get the female national team coach, Salam Kabidi. Well, there you have Mario. Mario, let's say welcome.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for inviting me to this program. And
we're concerned. We want to know, where do you join in on the conversation?
I understood a little bit of debate between who should and who shouldn't be in a county meet as a player.
Okay, so I think from where you stand, you support anybody playing a county meet. This is your first county meet. Let's know first, how do you see the competition, the National County Sports Meet?
Well, I saw all the matches that been accessible. I saw some of them and some like sort of highlights, but my assistant also was watching as many as possible. So unfortunately, we couldn't travel. We wanted to travel to Nimba County, but it was not possible. But back here in Monrovia, we saw all the matches.
So what is your take on the county sports meet? I'm sure you watched matches in the National League and you watched the county sports meet. Can you do a comparison and tell me the similarity or the differences between the two?
Yes, there are some big differences. And one of them, surprisingly, is the enthusiasm of the spectators. They seem to be extremely enthusiastic when they come to county meets compared to the league, even derbies. Even, if you're to compare Invincible 11 playing Painesville, it was not that much excitement and not many supporters compared to the opening, which actually, was absolutely awesome, absolutely fantastic. So you could see that somehow is something missing in the league, i.e. the support that Liberian shows towards football. So maybe something, should be done about that.
Okay, so yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry for interrupting.
Standard of football, also I think was a bit surprising for me to see that it was not a huge difference. One, maybe because there are lots of players from first division playing in these teams. Secondly, probably was a lot of enthusiasm in the first few matches, and later you could see that the players' performance dropped a little bit, particularly in the first week, because I presume many players are not used to play at this high intensity football and over a short period of time. So compared to the first match, to the second match, to the third, you could see that the intensity has dropped and more mistakes are appearing. As I said, particularly that they are not used to train, and they're not used to perform like sort of 3 matches in a space of 6-7 days.
Yeah, I do agree with
Let
that.
me ask you this question. Just before you came on, of course, I'm sure you heard my thoughts on the eligibility aspect of the county meet. I was here talking about who, in my opinion, should play in the county meet. I felt, and I still feel, in fact, that first division, second division players should not. I know this is your first time watching our county sports meet, but let me give you a bit of history. This tournament, of course, started as far back as the 50s. Of course, it took a break, but during the 80s and what have you, we discovered some players coming from the county meet that we didn't know. And they went on to play for the senior national team of Liberia, and they did great. Very, very great. So I'm asking you, looking at this kind of competition, players you already know that are playing in the first division, second division, do you think the county meet should be a competition like I think for maybe younger players, players we don't see day to day, giving them an opportunity to sort of come out and be discovered as well? Or do you think it's okay for anybody to just play in a county meet?
It's a little bit difficult to kind of make such a judgment, because in the end of the day, let's say those that run the county meets, you have to look what is the purpose. And so far, there is a spectacle of football achieved. But then you look, what other purposes are. And you may need to put in place all sorts of procedure and protocols in terms of what do you want. For example, from my understanding is you want the players to be discovered, right? So they will give them, a platform for players to showcase their skills, and basically you to highlight players that haven't been highlighted, like you explained a little bit earlier with Sia, okay? Which actually is perfect, example. But on the other hand, you need to have protocols, how these players are going to be developed and what is going to happen with these players, because otherwise you just showcase them once once a year, and then everyone forgets about it, because it's not only about these, 0.01% players, like, for example, you described. It's about all the others. When they go back to their counties, and you have basically, from what I understand that you want is the county meet players to be the best players in the county, that they will have an opportunity to showcase their skill. Well, that would mean, that some pre-selection has to be done there in order to be the county representatives. And when they are there, you have to look what is happening with them next. Is there any platform for them to develop young players? Because maybe one or two of them will be showcasing their skill because they're already there. But what about the others that are going to miss that opportunity, either through tracks, through nerves, through, you know how it's happening in football. Sometimes you need more time to showcase your skill, particularly a young player, without any, exposure to that kind of environment. So the idea is, very good, but also has to be taken up by those that they want to see what happen next. And that's probably another reason you have to, people has to sit down and to think through. The idea is not bad what you're saying. It's, very good idea. But if it does what actually they are looking for. At the moment is a spectacle of football, which actually seems to work for me. I was very impressed and I really like that. But what you say, it could be, a different point of view, and makes perfect sense. But however, will be others to look at what actually is there, because as I said, you need to have a next step, So that means, player development and maybe even football development. Maybe, the clubs, maybe somehow to have a feeder club from counties. So this way, them to have a pathway for the players to be developed and to be promoted. Because I presume that if you take out the second division class players, like you said, that would mean a little bit of a void. So are the third division or something else, ready to complete the development of these players that would be somehow unearthed by these county pre-tournaments before they come to this showcase, which actually is the later stages like now. I hope I'm
Great,
clear.
Murray.
Well, very fantastic. I like the response. So, having chit-chatted on the county meet, let's come to you now. This is your interview. Let's say welcome again. Firstly, I love to start with the weather. You've been here a couple of months now. What's the weather like for you?
Well, it's it's brilliant for me. I like hot weather. I have no problem. I've been working in about 6 months. I worked also in India, where actually it's very hot, so I'm used to this. It's good, and until the rain comes, we see what is happening. At the moment, is is good.
And the rain is around the corner.
The rain is here already.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So, what's about the people and the food?
Well, people are very friendly, extremely friendly, and I'm really impressed with that. I really like that. And food is interesting. I had a taste of local food, which actually I like a lot. Greens. I've been introduced to greens. So I like greens, and I like something very interesting: fish greens. I never thought that could exist something like that, but it's good. Also, cassava greens is good as well.
Cassava leaf. Thank you. It's from my county. Sorry.
So you and Trojan on the same wavelength. Cassava leaf is prepared from his county. Okay, the people of Grand Cape
What
Mount.
is your country? Okay, Cape
I'm from
Mount.
Grand
Okay,
Bassa.
Good.
Bassa with swallow,
Okay.
fufu, doughboy.
You said you wanted to go to Nima. You were gonna have you swallowed GB?
Do you know GB is the first
Do you know
question?
GB? Oh, all right.
No, I
We'll
don't.
introduce you to GB.
When you go Nima, you want to go Nima County. When you go Nima County, the food there is GB. They face the nut in the form like a starch nut, and then it's a little bit hard, very hard, and they face the soup. The soup is kind of a slam, like a slippery, and they put meat and stuff like that. So you use your hands, you wash,
And that's the best thing.
and
You
you
eat it
cut.
with not over a
You
spoon.
put it something like that. But yeah, you'll see that later on.
And is that the kind of fufu? The Nigerian kind of food is similar.
Yeah, it's fufu,
Harder.
but it's harder than fufu. Fufu
Harder.
is soft, more soft.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so straight into the interview. You've been here for a couple of months. I mean, your first task was against Djibouti. For me, I don't know about Trojan and others, but I was so happy for you, happy for the result, happy for my country that we were able to progress to the group stage of the Nations Cup qualifying 2025, even though there were a few naysayers, who didn't like the start of players. So, but what has it been like, in Monrovia and taking up a team like Liberia?
And in addition, let me just come in before you come in, Coach. A lot of people, or some people, not a lot, but some pundits will say you either took a risk to take a job coaching Liberia because it will either sort of add a blemish or a dent to your CV if you don't succeed, because it is a country that has been struggling, and for you to come to manage Liberia, it is a risk for you. So yes, like Ben asked, how is it like?
Well, obviously, in everything you do is a risk, and Liberia was, in a way, a much higher risk than lots of others, because I been working with Malawi before, and we had some achievements, but at the same time, I knew about Liberia quite a lot because we helped to prepare when Malawi played Liberia. But on the other hand, just because of that, I sense and I realize some potential, huge potential in Liberian football, and much, like sort of in advance. Many years ago, I was very close to get the Liberian national team job, and I was monitoring Liberia ever since, like lots of other clubs, like other countries. And I said to you, I've been working about 16 countries, and I kind of monitor countries in Africa, particularly that I used to work as scout for a number of Premier League clubs. So basically, I keep an eye on Liberia, and when this opportunity arrived, I thought that is a country that I could make an impact, and would suit me as well. So it wasn't,
Wonderful.
a hard decision. You could say that was, risk, but in everything you do is risk. Even if you open the door and you go out of the, on the street is a risk. So it was a risk that I thought that is worth taking.
Talking about that game with Djibouti, what was the most important thing you think you achieved over the two legs? I mean, it was a very good Djibouti side, though, that had more of the possession. But what was that small detail that you thought you achieved was so important?
Well, Djibouti, not many may realize that the Djibouti was an extremely strong side compared to where they were years back. Only if you think that Djibouti has a very strong league, and not until recently they had, players like Kalon and Alex Song. So obviously, is a highly developing country in terms of football. So for me, for us, very important was not to concede goals. As long as we didn't concede goals, we were sure that we were going to qualify. So that was number one priority, not to concede goals. So we tried to set up a platform and a game plan that, we managed to achieve that. On the other hand, if you were to look, Liberia were conceding lots of goals, and we tried to eradicate that. And we are looking, at the last 12 months, actually, 2 years, 12 games, and we noticed that some of the games were done. There were some mistakes, or some particular mistakes. We tried to eradicate that. So that would be, the difference we tried to make. We knew that the home game would be a bit more difficult because Liberia hasn't won for a long time, and will be what people may consider as a pressure. So we were focusing quite a lot on the away match.
And the result came in the away match. Those 2 goals in the space of 12 minutes, decided the 2-legged task.
Well, unfortunately, that is happening. In football, you could have, 95% of possession, and in a space of one shot, you could lose the match. So is what actually is happening sometimes in modern football. It doesn't mean that if you have possession, you could, control the game. Because these days you could control the game without actually having possession. Is like, deliberately looking, to let the opponent, do their way, and you not necessarily to play on the break, but it means that you have to use the ball wisely, and to win the ball in certain area that will give you opportunities.
Now, let me come in, Coach. Some people who saw the game with Djibouti will say, oh, man, Liberia is a kind of country that plays this, tiki-taka, maybe style of football, the pass the ball around a lot. And they didn't see that in the Liberia versus Djibouti game. And so they're banging on you to say, okay, coach, maybe you were just here for a couple of weeks before the game. You didn't have the time to sort of, settle in and get your ideas out. But now as we go on to June, when the Lone Star will be, of course, getting to the group stage of the qualifiers, are we going to start to see the philosophy of Mario's philosophy? Are we going to start to see it come out, or have we already seen it?
Well, sometimes it's like this, they call it horses for courses. So you have to apply the strategy you can with the players you have at that particular time. So we want, to play maybe a little bit different. We had different game plans, but also is what we could do, on that particular day, and also what the opponents have left, to do on that particular time. Also, as you said, it was very early on into the job, and we had a task to achieve, which actually we are, very proud to have achieved. And thank you to everyone helping us, including you, gentlemen, supporting us through everything we do, and even now with this interview. But it's a work in progress, and we are still looking to develop. It's very early on to draw a conclusion on that, because we still need to know the players, like we discussed a little bit early. There are lots of unknown gems we might look to try to bring, and each particular player are going to come with their technique and their skills. So we look to see how best we can adapt to our philosophy the players we have, and also we have available on that given time, based on the club availabilities, based on being informed, and based on being regular for their teams. So as I said, it's still work in progress. Will probably may take a while until these things will happen, but we are focusing on two aspects. Number one, to improve area we think that we need to improve. One of them may be to have a bit more possession of the ball, but also another area is to do what we've done right, i.e. to be a very tough team to beat, and the opponents not to have too many chances against us. So we try to address this balance a little bit, to keep what we have and to develop a little bit more football, in a sense of, let's say, having maybe certain, possession in certain areas, but without what actually you described a little bit early, that kind of tiki-taka, because I don't think we have Xavi, Iniesta, and Messi to play the tiki-taka you're referring to. So at the moment, we have to be realistic to what actually we have.
I was going to ask you, and you picked my mind, and you, of course, went around it a bit to find out. I'm sure you spend a little bit of time here now. You've worked with, or you're still working in fight with some of the lads, and of course, you've watched a couple of matches already, Liberian football already. I wanted to ask you. You've talked a little bit about it. What is it? What are those things that you've seen that we are not doing in our football that we need to perhaps implement, put into our football? The coaches need to work on this. The coaches need to work on that. What are just those things that you don't see in our football, watching our leagues? And of course, you watched a bit of county mid football as well.
Well, there are several things that I would prefer to be seen a little bit more often. and one of them is the higher intensity of football, and also that would come with the physical aspect of the football, i.e., more strength and more conditioning, and players to be fitter, basically. That would help to actually to hold more of the ball, because decision making would going to be made easier when the player is with a bit more fitness than when the player start losing the fitness. Therefore, that means the mental aspect is getting a little bit slow, and the decision making is impeded, making more mistakes. So if that's the reason I was saying, if you look at the three, matches or last week, the three groups of performance has declined from one match to another, because basically the recovery rate of the player is not quite there. Another aspect I would like to see a bit more, maybe, if you give me, if I am wrong, but probably statistically, to be seen from everyone, like analyzing performance based statistically rather than a bit more, subjective. Because one of the things is, to see how many shots does our players are taking, and how many shots are taken on target, how many headers. If you look, in the world, at top level, players are scoring about, goals are scored about 20 to 35% from heading. So how many goals are scored with heading, in our football, in league and county meets and things like that? How many shots are on target? How many shots are off target? So that will be something that will give even to the coaches probably a different strategic approach, and also onto the technical approach, what actually the players may need to be work on, because the players, remember, they develop at the clubs, they cannot be developed at the national team level. At national team level, we can give some advice, we can be able to help them, but the groundwork has to be done at club level.
So Mario, let's move forward with this conversation. And we'll talk about the Djibouti tie. We'll talk about Liberia qualifying already to the group stage. I want to know what's next now for the Lone Star. What's the plans table to the Liberia Football Association through its technical director? What's the conversation you're having now with the LFA relating to the Lone Star?
Well, we had a plan immediately after our matches with Djibouti. On 25th of March, we already put a plan together for the whole remaining part of the year, including the two major aspects or four, international windows. So the two major aspects are the preparation and the matches, away matches with Namibia and Sao Tome, and then the 6 matches are going to come thick and fast in September, October, November, and that would be for AFCON qualifiers. So based on that, we looked at the best planning, and it's very good that at the moment we are still working with match commissioners and with clubs to try to see what will be the best for us to have players on form before these matches, and also will be obviously in terms of preparation to see how we can fit in with the available financing in order to have as best preparation as possible. And then obviously will be how we can integrate the foreign-based players with the local-based players, because as you know, we had quite a lot of local-based players. We had 19, and we are looking to use as many as possible because they've done a very good job, but also we are not forgetting the foreign-based players, so we have to see who would be on form, who would be regular, and integrate them into having a very solid team for the two matches, the two batch of competition we talk about. What can I say? We have all the plans, everything is in place. It's just the execution, which actually sometimes you have a little bit of hiccups, but we hope that will be ironed out and we'll start now going on a straight.
Arranging friendly matches, has that been part of the plans?
Yes, we had. Obviously, it's difficult, like it was before, to go straight into matches without having some friendlies. Friendlies would help us in two aspects. Number one, some of these local players will give them exposure and experience when they'll face, higher opponents. Even, for example, with Djibouti, if you were to have a chance to play one or two friendlies, some players may not have come with the nerves and tracks and will be able to probably perform better. And you probably may see, different type of football. But on the other hand, is us to be able to experiment and at the same time the team to gel and to start playing a bit more together. So this way would help us to prepare better, obviously, for the matches to come. We have to see if that is possible because, as you know, it's a little bit of a tough time now. Obviously, there are two reasons. Number one, all the economies in the world, they struggle a little bit. Is affected by the international setups. And on the other hand, is that there may not be too many teams available for because, as you know, many players, they have their own things, and in Europe will be, European Championship. So it's not a great time now to have teams available for these friendlies. Plus, some of the teams, they have, their club teams, they have their players now in off season. Some they're looking to sign with clubs. Some, they look to get a vacation because that's probably the only time. So it's not that easy to have friendly arranged. But we had in plans 3 friendlies. Let's hope that something may come up.
Okay, so Coach, you've said a lot. Of course, I'm sure you're inching towards ensuring that the national team of Liberia improves. You started off, you mentioned that you're going to work with a lot of local players. Is it that because you came in at a time, and of course, it was just a day or two, I may say, to your first competitive match, that you had to work with what you had? Or is it going to be something that we will see you working more with the local lads? Or are you following our overseas-based players as well? Do you follow them? Do you know who's in their team day in, day out, like that, so that when the time comes, they might be invited to the senior national team?
Yes, just to start with the second part, we are, even before I come, to be installed, I had already a list with about 30 Liberian players playing abroad. Now this list is about 50. So we are monitoring about 50 Liberian players playing abroad. So there is no, let's say, a boundary between Liberian players playing abroad and the local-based players. It's just, as I said, player has to be informed and they have to play regularly. And obviously, you have abroad, some of them, it was very difficult time, for example, to get them because, as you know, some, let's say, they play in clubs like, in Sweden, Denmark, Norway, which actually at that particular time when we come, the league was not started. So basically, I didn't have any matches. They just had, some preparation compared to local-based players that the league was in full swing. They were very fit, as fit as they could be at that time. So fitness even more. And it was a platform, actually, we used as a springboard. But the players, as I said before, I was following Liberian football, so I know that lots of players could be produced here. And as you say, rightly so, giving example of Emmanuel, there are lots of players that are unearthed. So we thought, that it's interesting to look at them. And some surprise us, and that's the reason you probably see so many. But on the other hand, it's up to every single player to take their sport. Is an open space for everyone. The only thing is them to play in their clubs and to improve, to be consistent in playing, and we look, to call them. By the way, though, another 3-4 players that they supposed to come, some of them for personal reason could not make it on that particular time. But as unfortunately, in football, someone's bad luck is someone else's good luck. So now, 19 players that they made a squad. Is up to these 19 players. How badly do they want it? How badly do they work towards? Because you see, you have to look towards professional football. Professional football is not necessarily because someone is paid. It comes the professionalism. That means even someone is amateur in terms of not being paid, does he prepare professionally for the activity he wants to perform? And he's a superstar, he's an entertainer. So has to, like, an actor is repeating the scene and everything. They have to go on their own, maybe to do session, to do things that we told them that they may lack. So maybe sometimes the club could help them, but also can they help themselves? Can they watch their matches? Can they have maybe other people to help them to work on their, techniques that they know that they may need to improve on? So it's a little bit more difficult because as a national team coach, is only that much you could do. Is also them when they go away from the national team and the clubs, how much do they want to help their players to perform better? That's available for players in Liberia, but also for players in abroad, because as you know, sometimes is this thing club versus country, which actually sometimes doesn't help, because Liberia being so far away, it's not easy also to get to Liberia from abroad, because as you know, from, let's say, if you travel from UK to here, it takes you about 14 hours. And maybe some clubs, they're not willing, the player to go back 14 hours and to play a match straight away after. So we still have to look who actually, could fit on that particular given time for that particular match.
Now, I want to know something, Coach.
Short question.
I want to know something, Coach Mario. I like to call you Mario Barinica. What do you tolerate as a coach? Asking you this question to understand what are the things you will accept as a coach from your players, and what are those things you will not accept? So what do you tolerate as a coach? Are you a strict disciplinarian? Are you a kind of coach who will not want anybody not doing what you do not want? Are you that strict, or are you a bit lenient and can take some things from your players, knowing that they need a bit of free wills to enable them to flow? Yes, tell us, what kind of coach are you?
Well, first of all, I want performance. And to have performance, you need to have a certain rules and into everyone's kind of approach, including us as a staff. And then obviously I'm looking for players. I'm looking at their strengths. I'm not that much interested in their weaknesses, because you cannot rectify weaknesses of the national team. So I'm looking at player strengths, what they bring to the table in order to help us to achieve what we want to achieve. And based on that, we are molding the philosophy, and we are molding the setup based on what players we have at that particular time, based on the task ahead, i.e. the opponent. So having said that, players has to be, very disciplined in certain aspects, like otherwise things doesn't work in football. And many mistakes are made because players are not disciplined into whatever task given. But on the other hand, you have to have a certain of, fluidity, because if you look at player strengths, that strength, it comes with a little bit of give and take, because the player has to be in a way free to do certain elements that is their strength, but within a confined environment, i.e. the team strategy and what we want to achieve and how do we want to achieve.
Okay, let's go back to the national team and the games that are coming up. We've got World Cup qualifier. Obviously, we lost in Monrovia, 2 crucial games. That leaves like a mountain we have to climb. I'm just calculating in my head to be realistic that we cannot go to the World Cup, and I think you will agree with me. Throughout in the campaign and the rest of the games you are going to play, what are you going to be looking out for?
Well, every single match with every single team I've been working before, I'm going there to win the match, no matter what. So that's we try to do whatever it is. So we look, to win the match. And in order to do that, we have to plan strategically based on what players can we recruit at that given time and the players that are in form. So we try at the same time, obviously, to give, within that confinement, a chance to some players that we think on a long term, there are one benefit for the country, second benefit for AFCON qualifier. So that will be, let's say, the approach of these 2 matches, Namibia and Sao Tome.
Okay, I think we have Tunisia in the group. Eh?
Yeah.
Tunisia is there as well. And by the way, there's a good rivalry that exists.
Let's take one at a time, because yes, we have the other things, but we have to look. This calendar year, we have only these 2 matches in World Cup qualifiers. Next back-to-back matches, if I'm not mistaken, 25th of September, 2025. So it's a long, long way to this. So let's take these 2 matches one at a time, and we prepare for these matches, as I said, with 2 things in mind. Number one, we want to win these matches as much as possible, and we prepare for that. Secondly, what players can we use for future, and how can we produce a gel team for the 4-6 matches coming thick and fast in September, October, and November.
Okay, you have a coaching staff that is assembled by you yourself, and one Liberian is on the staff.
Kelvin.
Two Liberians.
Kelvin Soboy.
Sigrid and the goalkeeper coach.
Yeah.
In person of
Yeah,
Wise. Okay. So what sort of method, firstly, did you use to select Kevin Sigrid as your deputy? And then secondly, how did you put that staff together? Is it a coaching staff that you've been having and you can move from place to place with it, or when you get a job and then you start to select those members of your coaching staff?
Well, there are a number of aspects. Number one aspect, I said I want some continuity. So it was perfect in a way, and that's, short space of time and very convenient to get 2 coaches that already work with the national teams, i.e. 17's goalkeeping coach, and at the same time, under 20 was involved into that 4 matches against Sierra Leone. So Kelvin would be, perfect fit for the other, position. Also, I knew about Kelvin long time ago. I knew since was player, and in my adventure working in Monaco at some point, I heard lots of good things about him. So I had a chance to met him and talk and discuss. So we said, let's say temporary to have this partnership until Djibouti matches. And after that, we agreed to carry on because I think we gel a fantastic team. With the other 3, with Cluid, with Ronnie and Chikondi, he was also, because the short span of time to be able to select, maybe could have been, maybe more Liberian coaches, maybe, really good coaches. But on the other hand, was that you need to, in 3 weeks to deliver a performance qualifying. So it's easier for you to work with people that actually worked before, rather than looking to select people and then to drill them, to educate them, and to be kind of, a team, because the staff also has to be a quick gel team, not only the players. We had to look at players. We had to look, as I said, about 100-something players. We have to monitor players straight away closely in the league. We saw all the matches in the league at that time. Every single match covered by one of us. So we needed to have a strategy of recruiting players and identifying those that are in form and those that they fit the bill for that particular time. So that was the reason that we go and I come with this solution, at that time, which actually I thought that was a good solution. So we kept it for the next stage as well.
Okay, so Coach.
Yes.
Of course, you're here now, and of course, you have a task. And that task, you've already crossed the first phase of it. You've gotten us into the group stage of the AFCON qualifiers. One basic thing you will need is support, because a coach gets frustrated to say he has all of the plans, this is how he wants to work. But of course, administratively, they also have to be in line with the coach, and everybody will have to gel to work together. So let's talk about the support you are getting. Is it minimal? Is it maximum kind of support? How is the support level to you and your staff since you've been here?
At the beginning, everything was absolutely fantastic. The tremendous support from every single one, from grassroots, from people in the streets, from all sorts of entities, LFA, ministers, other stakeholders, clubs. Fantastic. Now, obviously, things are a little bit with a bit of hiccup, and it makes sense, is understandable, but obviously we want to be rectified as soon as possible, because obviously the league at the moment is stopped. So we need probably, to have, daily practices or regular practices. And also, the other hand is understanding, because of these county meets, the focus is on the county meets, and it's difficult to expect the same sort of implication like actually was before. So we understand this, and we hope that slowly, when we get now to the last month, before preparation, particularly that the players are idle now for about 15 days, we'll get the support. Maybe, I had an idea to even maybe be invited to different counties and the national team to prepare there, and maybe to play an exhibition match against one of these countries. So that could be some other things that could be somehow help, and this way we can have the players under supervision and under continuous training. So there are things on the table, and we hope that we'll get that as soon as possible, the ball rolling.
And I still hear you talking about 19 players. 19 players.
Yeah.
So these players you've selected, is there any way you're going to tweak that number, that 19, by including some other players or dropping others, of opening up opportunities to increase that number from 19 and up?
Well, what actually is happened is not the 19 players. 19 players has been selected after we had, as you know, 3 camps, and we played 2 friendly matches with local teams. So initially we had 66 players. So I said to you, we have about 150 players, local players, on our radar that we think that may be potential internationals, and we have about 50 foreign-based players. So the pool is quite large, and it's up to these 19 players if they keep their position or not, according to how badly do they want and how hard do they work to keep that position. It's like everything in football, the place is not guaranteed and is up for grabs. So on the day, be selected those that they will show performance up to that particular point. So it could be increased and it could be decreased, the 19 players, and it could be the same players, or maybe you could see some different faces. As I said, there were a good number of players that being called. We looked at some of them, and one of the things is every single player that we looked at, we still monitor that player. So we are not dropping any players because they are not selected at particular time. The players are under consistent monitoring process, and we look at their performances. Some, even now when they play county meets, they are looked at. And some others, for example, from county meets, we look at some players, maybe, we look to 1 or 2 for certain aspects on, I wouldn't put a trial because I don't want to see players on trial, but I'm putting that is a familiarization process. So maybe some players could be invited, something like that. Right.
Okay, you talk about young players. I mean, when I look at that team you put together here in Liberia, there are too many young players in there, like Gibson, the center forward, good height as well, and Natu Swan. For me personally, I didn't believe that 2024 he will play for the national team. Trust me, I know he's a potential talent. His dad used to be a good goalkeeper for the national team. Okay, but me, I didn't believe that we have seen him in 2024 as a full international. So look at all the players you put together, the age range, and in the last 2 months or so have been probably the best of our football, where we have seen lots of our lads going to Europe, going for trial, like for example, Divan Thier, signed a contract. He played in the 2nd division, wonderful talent. Okay, he have had some international games under his belt before he was even 18. I think he scored twice or so for the national team. Are you going to, consider very youthful players? And if you see Natu Swan, you see Chancet Freeman, okay, a little bit of experience, but Gibson, the central forward, and I may think that you can put faith in players like Emmanuel Gono, he's playing in Europe, Divan Thier just went to John Hammanby, even Sam Moses.
You have to, I believe that you have to have a balance. because young players gives you energy and gives you determination, which actually pushed the more experienced player. But at the same time, the experienced player, they give them a bit more comfort, and they're able to help them. So you have to gel a team on that. That's my belief. On the other hand, is a player is not too old or too young as long as he could perform. So first thing is the player to be able to perform, and I'm happy to say that the two of them you mentioned, they did perform. They didn't look out of place. Yeah, they could have done much better. Maybe other players could have done better, and they're not being selected. But that's unfortunately the nature of football. And you mentioned some that they are abroad. We also looked to other players that has not been including at the moment. For example, we're looking in the past to Christian Sedi from Portsmouth. So there are others that they haven't been including this time, like Divine Ngono. But the reasoning for each of them, let's say the two of them you mentioned, Divine and Ngono, they just left. They were looking to invite them, but they went for a trial, so therefore they become unavailable. I said to you, some of them, for personal reason, were not available. So yes, we are keeping a track of them, and as I said, I believe that you need to give a chance to players, particularly young players, because they bring something that. I said is this enthusiasm and is the hard work they put in there. But on the other hand, by being young, it doesn't mean that it's automatic selection, or by being old is automatic rejection. It's you have to put the best players you could get on that particular time. And if it happens to be young players and them to be able to do a job, that's probably even better, because that means Liberian football has a future.
Now, let me take you to the goalkeeping aspect. You, of course, had an open invitation, and then you settled on 3 goalkeepers. Of course, Tommy Songo, Denny, and Koulibaly.
Yeah.
All right? Those 3 goalkeepers. Now, particularly Songo. How did he arrive at that? Because he's been between us for Liberia for a while, and there was a time that a lot of Liberians thought, hey, this guy cannot continue to be the number 1 for Liberia. A lot of people, and you came in as the new coach, and still with all of those who I'm sure showed up at your, practice sessions, you still selected Tommy Songo. Tell us about it. Particularly Tommy Songo. A lot of Liberians would like to know, how did he end up in the team?
Easy. Well, it's very easy. I said before, you have to look at players, performances on that particular time for that particular game. And Tommy Songo was a player on form, and Tommy Songo, when he comes to the national team, he proved that he has quality, and therefore it was easy to be kept. On the other hand, if you have to look at some point, I invited about 14 goalkeepers for some training sessions. We had an open invitation.
You said, I'm sorry, coach. Did you say 14 goalkeepers?
Yes.
That's almost all the goalkeepers in the country.
Okay.
Yeah. We had an open invitation. We end up only with 10 out of 14 we invited. And the others, we watched them while, I said to you, we always had someone on the ground to see. We saw other players. Remember, we even had in a squad a player, 2 players, not in a squad, but in a large squad, and in the last squad, for second division. So we cast our, net quite wide. Remember, we had Jane Ayford, and we're looking also more Blanco. So we had, as much as possible, it was. We had even, I think, a goalkeeper from Gunnersville. So we look as much as possible. We had all the, I said to you, people implicated, and I was thankful to them because I asked clubs to recommend players that they think they could be at that particular time potential internationals. So from that, we had a different way of assessing. We looked at them, we invited a number of goalkeepers. It doesn't mean that actually they've been rejected, but for that point in time, we selected 4 of them. And out of that 4, we selected 3, and Tommy got injured. So therefore we brought, the 4 goalkeeper into the squad. So the same thing was with outfield players. We selected 30 and with 26 players with us. And after that, we left back with some development coaching, some players to be ready if we need for the return match. So that's probably going to do even now. So we look to have a number of goalkeepers because it's a particular position, and those that will show form and quality, they will be selected like everyone else, like any other player. So at that particular time, I had lots of people advising me, against Tommy Songo, and it was nothing to be proved. It was that basically he proved to us that was a player to be considered. So we consider him.
A lot of people advise you that.
but Tommy, he's a very popular guy, by the way. I think he celebrated his
birthday a couple of days ago.
Yeah, a couple of days
sure.
ago. Anyway, so Tommy Songo is very, very popular guy.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry for interrupting.
Yeah, Coach. I want to ask you this relative to, I just want your thoughts on what do you think concerning how we as a country can sort of develop our football? Because a lot of time, the national team will depend not just on the league and the players and the overseas-based players, of course. The national team will also depend on the youth system, talking about under 12, under 15, that will graduate to under 17, under 20. Probably we had an under 23, and then senior national team, sort of like that chain. Your opinion, how do you think we go about it so that we don't experience? Because one thing in our country's history that all of us keep going back to is that I'm sure you've heard about the George Weah 11, and when that group figured it out, we didn't have people to immediately step in, and so it created a sort of vacuum that we're still struggling with up till today. So if your advice was sought, what will you say? What do you need to do? What do we need to do, in fact, to ensure that we keep the ball rolling so that we do not experience what we experienced with the George Weah 11?
Okay, so in my opinion, there are several things. Number one, you don't need to copy anyone, which actually at the moment seems that Liberians like to copy. So you cannot copy anyone because whatever like we said earlier, about this, tiki-taka, you cannot copy. What you need to do, you need to take what is best and to adapt to your country, particulars. If you copy, obviously it doesn't work. Because you don't have, for example, if you want to play, for example, this tiki-taka, right? You need to have surfaces, you need to have basically, the players to be able to play, or you have to get them very young. So now the question is this: what means tiki-taka? Means, one-touch football, more or less, right? But if you do one-touch football, how are you going to develop a George Weah or Kelvin Seba that actually they've been able to beat players and to, dribble? George Weah, remember the goal against AC Milan that beat everyone from one penalty spot to the other and score. How?
Yeah.
So how are you going to do that? Yeah. So how would you score that? If you force kids to play one-touch football, so that one-touch football has to be as a result of a high development, which actually was in Spain, because the players will be able to do that. So they developed one-touch football, which actually been called tiki-taka at that time. So you need to have also maybe at least at the younger age, plus even the senior teams, if you're to look at club levels, teams to be comfortable to play more than one system or more than one type of formation, because it's very difficult to create a system if you don't have some strategy, some philosophies. But you need to have something like, to play with two strikers, to play with one striker. So to see what will suit you, to play with three strikers. Because otherwise, for example, like at the moment, most teams, they play so-called 4-3-3, which actually they a bit what was Walt 4-3-3, and you have one striker, and the striker may not know when to attack the near post, when to attack the far post, may not be able, to score headers because the crosses are not very good, because the others are not wingers. The other two, they are wide attackers, is not wingers, so they're not specialized into crossing the ball. So there are all sorts of things that impedes the football to develop at the real talent it probably is. So that will probably be, in a nutshell, to try to see what you could play, and as much as possible to be flexible, because that would mean the player you produce will be flexible to play in different teams, in different systems, which actually was in the past. Now, if you're to play whatever is in this, will have to fit not only certain teams that the players will be comfortable to play, because that's the play getting used to. So you need probably not to play midfield players box to box, maybe midfield players, holding midfield. But so in the players' development, then to play a different systems and maybe to have different strategies. So this way, when a new coach is coming, because obviously the coaches are temporary, come and go, so they have to be comfortable to get on the ground players that could be fitting into different systems, maybe according to their philosophy, or more importantly, a system that would suit to play different opponents, because different opponents also, they have different styles. So you may have to be flexible into that one as well.
A couple of personal questions for you. Firstly, many people think that Mario took up the Lone Star job because he wants to improve his CV, and then soon the contract expires, he's going to leave. How do you look at it? Do you see yourself in the longer future with this Labyrinth team if you are asked to renew your contract at the end of the first 2 years when they expire?
Well, 2 years in football is a long time. Like few days is a long time. So we'll have to take, one at a time, because obviously there's some performance based into that. And to answer, directly, that was not the case, because I think I had, not much, to be added on that. I had initially. It's just that I thought, that is an interesting challenge, and results could be obtained. What will happen in 2 years' time is long on the road, so that was not in my mind.
Okay, and then this one, fast.
Yeah.
So you say Mario is fast and furious.
Fast. When you came at your
At
your unveiling, you said Liberian football is slow.
Slow.
Yeah. Fast. Tell us about that.
Okay, so what I was saying, that seeing some football, sometimes you think that there are 3 speeds instead. That in the car you have 5 gears, for example. Yeah, so it's like 3 gears, and there's slow, very slow, and stand still. No, I want to have only 2 gears, fast and very fast. So what actually means by that?
You hear the 2 gear. Fast.
2 gear.
Very fast.
Fast and very fast. So
So from slow, very slow and standstill, we want to move, to 2 gears, fast and very fast.
Fast and very fast.
so
Yeah. So
yeah, tell us, how do you get your players to either be fast
So
or
how
very
do
fast?
that? So first of all, in my philosophy is like this: you have to everything we do, including the staff, in everything we do, including our relationship with the LFA and other stakeholders. So you have to think fast, you have to act fast, you have to move fast, and you have to be well prepared and organized. So let's take a player. Okay, how that player gonna be faster? So if the player think ahead, what he needs to do, let's say the ball. So he'll position himself, so act fast, will move fast to position himself in order to control that ball where he wants to do. So that means his decision making is already faster, so he could be focused on his technique, and therefore everything will be on the move, rather than making in stages. Oh, the ball is coming to me, what do I do next? How I'm going to control it, how I'm going to position, to whom I'm going to play, and that will make the game slow. So this is one of the things, thinking process. Secondly, we want as much as possible the players to play in front rather than at least behind or at the feet. In front meaning even if he's 1 inch in front of his his partner, would means that player is on the move rather than controlling. I've seen many times the ball is passed behind. Just imagine the ball is passed behind. That means you have to turn back to control the ball and then to move. So obviously that makes the game very slow, and that gives you that kind of standstill I'm talking about, because instead of going forward, you go backwards to go forward. So it's not in attempts that actually you pass backwards, but if you pass to someone behind him, he has to turn back and in order to go forward. So is a difference between that and passing backwards, for example, strategically. So that will mean that the game it gets faster. And when it's getting very fast, is that because you get in attacking third, for example, and you know what you're gonna do, it's easy for you to be the player, to cross, to shoot, because you already made your mind up and you know within our strategy how do you want to play. So in that position, we're gonna cross, in that position, we're gonna shoot. So the players, everyone knows what happens, so therefore supposed to make the game faster. Obviously, as I said, it's a little bit different between passing the ball and booking the ball. So we don't want the ball to be kicked anyway. We want the ball to be passed. That means accuracy, means weight of the pass, means that is a thoughtful process and is a technique there. But we try to get in there and we try to make to correct some of the errors.
Well, we are out of time. The conversation, I know it won't finish, but we're so gracious to have you. We've got to let you go. Probably Trojan, you want to close up from here?
Yeah, it's been a nice time with you, Coach, and I hope as we dwell along, we have another opportunity to sit with you again to talk more. That is when maybe we have succeeded in fighting for the Africa Cup of Nations.
Yeah.
But before we go, Coach, what is that one thing?
So you don't want me to see you for the next 6 months?
No.
We'll see you sooner.
We'll see you sooner than that. Along the way, we're going to have tidbits of discussions. Sure.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. What is that one thing that you will say you want done? That you really want for it to be done in order to make your job easier?
Probably it's a little bit difficult to say only one thing, because sometimes you want more than one thing in life. first of all, to try to get some camps as soon as possible.
Get to camp as soon as possible.
When it comes to finance. Okay.
That's
The
good.
authorities are listening. We talk youth football. We talk the national team. We talk the developments. We talk the plans you've got for the national team. And we talk about the future to come. We talk about you personally. Very lastly, before we take leave of you. I'm not
Anything
hearing you.
probably you
Sorry,
want us to know?
I didn't
Probably
hear that.
didn't
Sorry.
touch-
I think it was a blip. Sorry, it was a blip on. Hello?
Yeah.
Sorry, it was a blip.
Yeah,
I
coach.
didn't hear. I couldn't.
No, I said we talk
I think
about
on
a lot of
internet was-
things. And just for us to
Yeah.
close, is there anything we didn't talk about you want to end on?
Well, first of all, as I said, I want to thank everyone for all the interest and all the hard work they put, including, my staff and the LFA. And I want to thank you guys for supporting and everyone out there that support us. So from my point of view, I said, I'm very happy. I'm very grateful that people are welcoming and they try to work very hard to support us. I'm very pleased, the way the football start developing. Obviously, there are lots of things could be done. And from me personally, I would like things to be kept that way, maybe, even improved. And as I said, coaches out there to probably consider how they can help the national team as a national cause to develop players for us to achieve what we want to achieve, because in the end of the day, it's each club, each players that showcase their skill and to come to perform to national team levels, including these countries that would be able, to attract them to help us, because as you said, there are fantastic players there. We saw some of them. They're all, players in the past, and they've been proving to come from there, including Sheriff. And we'll look to see how can we get more players like that developed for the national teams. And who never knows, as it was surprised to see Gibson just playing 3-4 matches for the clubs and scoring, 11 goals in 7 matches, league level. Maybe lots of others could be out there, and we haven't had the opportunity to see them. So probably we need to look into that, and will help make my job easier to discover these players, and will make much easier for the country to be able to achieve these things, because Senegal, for example, was able to develop so many players in a short space of time. Here we have the same premises, and as we just rightly said during the interview, there are already a number of youngsters playing in abroad, so that could be multiplied. This way would be a quick route to success, probably.
Well, thank you so much. Thanks for your time.
Well, thank you very much for everything, and thanks for inviting me. And I wish everyone all the best, and enjoy the show because it's fantastic. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you so
Thank you,
much. So,
Coach.
Mario Marenica, fast. Ending this edition of Sports Talk with me and Ben. Trojan is still here.
Yeah, Ben, it was a nice show. Of course, we might not have gotten everything out of the coach, but of course, I'm sure we got a lot out of him. And we apologize that Coach
Salem Kabedi.
Kadebe could not be on. We promised to bring her on.
Yeah.
And so she will tell us about the female aspect as well, and some of what she's going through and what she needs to succeed here as the head coach of our female senior national team. So it was good being here.
That's all time we've got to be with you. This edition of Sports Talk was live on SATCOM channel at 8 on Facebook and YouTube as well. My name is Ben Trojan this year. We'll catch you on Friday as a team.
Good night.
Good night.